common across all the systems. And as I said, the degree alone may vary. Depending on that, you may have to tweak your solution, but by and large, they remain the same. So these various segments of requirements is where the architecture comes into picture, is where the architecture phase itself is going to try to address in a product or application. So the commonalities between these various segments can very well be summarized into what we call as NFRs. NFR standing for the non-functional requirements. There are as much as like 24 NFRs that could be applicable to a product, but not every product has to be supporting all those NFRs. It purely depends on the type of product we are dealing with, the kind of business case we are trying to solve, and the kind of domain solution being provided. So depending on these scenarios, you might have to pick up the right NFRs that are required and also determine the goals for these NFRs. The goals itself could be, for example, when we talk about product customization. Customization is the capability to kind of customize your product according to the end customer's need. Now, the use case here could be, for example, you want the customers to be able to add additional fields to existing screens, and they should be able to capture this additional information, right? Now, you could either take it as an implementation. In a traditional model, we take it as an implementation requirement. We have the developers code it and then modify the code, bring this additional field. But then if you talk about SaaS or multi-tenant kind of scenarios, it becomes even more critical for allowing the users to be able to specify this additional field information, and more and better, we give the control back to the customers to do it by themselves, so that they need not even come back to the support teams for implementing this customization. So scalability is one such kind of a thing. The performance of the system. These are some of the common trends or common NFRs that are applicable for most of the products. So there are some NFRs which could be not so very critical. For example, something related to your deployment model, or it could be related to your modifiability. So there are so many NFRs around there, but they may not be as important as some of the other NFRs we saw earlier. So for the rest of this session as well as the next two sessions, we are going to be picking up some of these important non-functional requirements, and we are going to try to understand their impact on the architecture, on the product, and how do you address these NFRs, some of the best practices involved in addressing them, and how do you typically approach it. So those are the kind of insights we are going to look into the rest of the session as well as the next two sessions. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Jyoti, where she will be covering two NFRs today, which will be the scalability and the performance. Over to you, Jyoti.
Thanks a lot, Janaki. So like Janaki mentioned, there are a lot of non-functional requirements